Okay, everybody, we're back on deck. Hopefully, as a test, can you hear me now? If someone can give me acknowledgement, please. Yes, fantastic. Would you believe we're on our third computer and we've got it all working, so that's terrific. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. I started to say before, just by way of introduction of myself, my name's Ian Richardson. I'm the Senior Product Engineer at ABB Australia. I'm also the Chairman of the KNX National Group, which is an industry organisation. And I'm being told we have a terrible echo. I'm not sure what we can do. Maybe I was just a little bit too close. So Gary, I can see you said that it's better now, so hopefully that can continue. Maybe I was just a bit too close to the microphone. Okay, we'll see if the PowerPoint's going to play the game now. The problem was before it seemed to freeze for some reason. Moving into the presentation, the philosophy of home automation as we see it going into the future. Some of the requirements that we're likely to need. Energy efficiency is very much a buzzword for everybody, and our homes leading into the future, we'll be looking for ways to be more efficient and hopefully save some money for everyone. We're looking for higher levels of comfort and security in the home. Automation of a home isn't necessarily all about wanting to turn the lights on and off at certain times. And so on. There's a lot of other factors that can come into the comfort levels that we're looking for, and also it leads to the security of the home as well. Ideally, we should need a standardised industry approach. There's a lot of technology out there, and if there's a standardised approach, it's going to be much better for the home market, and particularly for the installing contractors, and I know many of you will be, to learn just the one system and be able to utilise that is going to be a great thing as we move to the future. And speaking of the future, future-proof technology, if that's at all possible, it's somewhere where we would like to be as we proceed down this path. So in regards to KNX, KNX is considered a cost-effective and flexible solution. It covers the wide variety of the market sectors as well. It's not only a domestic product, it's also used quite a lot in commercial and even industrial areas. KNX itself is actually the only standard for both commercial and residential buildings. It's defined by an IEC standard, and it's the only protocol in the world which actually has that. So that gives a lot of security for people who might be specifying a requirement of a protocol. To have it defined by an IEC standard means that it will carry on into the future. KNX itself is actually controlled by an independent association, interestingly known as the KNX Association. They're based in Brussels, and they are actually the owners of the protocol. They are a not-for-profit organisation, and they do a lot of testing of product to ensure the integrity of the standard and the integrity of the products which are put to the market carrying the KNX logo. But various devices, certainly from our point of view as ABB, we manufacture quite a number of KNX devices, but before we can present the device to the market, we actually have to submit it to the KNX Association, and they'll do a complete test of the product and ensure its compatibility with all other KNX devices on the market. So this is quite an important factor because it displays the independence from any manufacturer for KNX devices. Looking at the number of manufacturing members, there is actually well over 300 at the moment as members of the KNX Association. So these are companies who are actually involved with the manufacture of various products which are suitable for the KNX protocol. And it means that a lot of this audience will be people that are that could be users of the KNX product, and the security of knowing that all of these products are compatible, and you could pick a product from brand A, brand B, brand C. It will all work on the same system, and it's actually guaranteed by the KNX Association that it will do so. Looking back into history of where did KNX come from, in the early 90s, there were three major protocols that were available in the market in Europe. One was called the European Installation Bus. The other was BATI Bus, and there was another group called EHSA, the European Home System Association. Each of these associations had their own protocol, but they're all looking towards having a system which could provide some form of automation. As time went on, the KNX Association was founded in April of 1999. So these three groups actually got together and decided that for the future, it was going to be difficult to having multiple protocols all trying to vie for a market share of basically the same thing, the domestic, commercial and industrial market of automation. So they devised an idea to have an association, which was called the KNX Association, and they would have one particular standard, but be compatible with all three of the previous standards. So BCI, EHSA and EIB all joined together. You can see there's a number of brands there that were associated with those various protocols. They all got together, and now we have a protocol called KNX. So KNX has been around since 1999, but the forerunners of it were well before that. So looking at the EIB system, it was devised to handle quite a number of areas of home automation, and when it's combined with the involvement of BCI, which did a lot of the HVAC system, and EHS, which were essentially a lot of the white goods, we now have a complete system being KNX, which covers almost every application in the home, and it handles it quite seamlessly. The road to get KNX to become a standard, in 2003, it was certified by the Centrelec Bureau to become a European standard. You may have seen some products and catalogues, they quote an EN number being the European norm or the European standard. The specifications then advanced to cover the automation of electrical installations in HVAC, and also it went to the US and was defined by a North American standard as well. Probably the biggest turning point was in 2006 when the KNX protocol was recognised and approved to become an IEC standard. So this means really across the globe, reference can be made to that one IEC standard for home and building automation, and people have the security of knowing that if they specify the standard, they will get the one product. It's defined by the standard, and the future of it is going to be very secure, because clearly it's quite difficult to change protocols on a whim if it's actually defined by an IEC standard. More recently, the KNX standard was also recognised in China, and it's actually China was one of the largest markets for KNX in more recent years, because they have certain reasons why they need to look towards home automation for their energy efficiency needs. And it's not so much for them about saving energy, it's for conserving energy because they've got limited amounts. They literally can't build power stations fast enough to go with the growth that they're looking at, so they need to conserve energy from that point of view. I mentioned earlier that there is well over 300 So currently we have 311 manufacturing members, and this is just a little bit of a snapshot of different companies who are producing products for KNX. So they're all members of the KNX International Association. So reading through that list, it's a bit of a who's who, and by all means this is not a conclusive list because we can't fit all 311 onto this one page. But I'm sure there's quite a number of names there that you would recognise. Along with that, all those 311 manufacturers are producing approximately 7,000 different products. So this really means that the choices that you've got for almost any application in home and building automation can be found. There'll be certain companies who are specialists in certain areas. Maybe they're producing certain HMI products or touchscreens. There are some companies which are quite general and got a very broad range, as per ABB. And there's such a wide variety. And the greatest benefit of KNX is the fact that you can pick a product from one brand, get another product from another brand, and once they're connected via the KNX cable, they will work. And that's clear. So it's a very, very powerful tool from that point of view. As I mentioned, the KNX Association are the guardians of the protocol, and they're the guardians of the software. Each product that you might see on the market, if it's suitable for KNX, will have the KNX logo stamped or printed on the front of it, and there's 3 examples there from 3 different brands. This is really the security that you've got. None of the manufacturers are allowed to place this logo on their product unless they have submitted it to the KNX Association and received their approval that it is 100% interoperable and compliant, therefore able to interwork with other products. So I guess the security message of using different products and having the ability to shop around and find a product which is going to suit the need that you want is really fantastic. Great benefit to the installers. And I'm just missing part of that slide there. I'm not sure what happened with that one. That slide is meant to be saying the various countries where KNX is actually represented by people who have been through a degree of training, and they're qualified to work in KNX. In Australia, there's quite a number of courses being run for users of KNX, and you actually receive a certification once you're qualified and pass the course, and you can take that qualification anywhere in the world. So really any one of these countries that you can see there, as a qualified KNX person, you can go to any one of those countries and do work because you are a KNX partner yourself. There's about, I'm trying to remember the number, about 35,000 I think globally who are qualified. Yes, oops, sorry, just going backwards. Wrong button. KNX has an alliance with quite a number of universities across Australia. Recently in Australia, the KNX Association has certified the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology here in Melbourne to be the first certified training facility here in Australia. So they're commencing to run courses as we speak. There are a number of mobile courses being run around the various states, and perhaps a number of you people listening may have already done the course and received the qualification. A scientific partner is a university who is involved with research. There's about 200 universities across all of those countries. I know in discussions with RMIT, they're quite interested to pursue this as well. So we'll see what happens in the future there. Looking at where we can utilise KNX, it's almost every possibility of an automation application in the home. Often when we talk about home automation, we immediately think of lighting control and setting moods and dimming things automatically and so on. There's so much more that we're able to do. We can Coordinate with security systems. There's a certain amount of security directly on KNX. There are also interfaces with other security systems. We've got blind and shutter control. There's various visualizations can be done. We can talk directly to HVAC controls because a number of the HVAC suppliers have KNX compatible products as well. Energy management, we can measure the energy consumption in various parts of a building, and those values can be communicated directly across KNX as well. So it's an extremely powerful tool, as you can see, covering quite a wide breadth of applications. With our HVAC control, you can control rooms individually. You can have a central control system. Timed operation is obviously quite simple. We can provide presets given certain requirements. If we're doing movement control and sensing a person being in a room, we'll not only change the lighting mood according to the non-occupancy, we can change the HVAC and also to consider the fact that rooms are unoccupied. So we're taking things to the next level, but this is getting to the ultimate controls that we're able to do for a home or a building. With lighting control, clearly there's automated lighting that we can do. We can use constant dimming for actually harvesting of natural light. So if the sun is shining into a room, there's no need to have the lights on full bore. We can dim down lights so they supplement the natural light coming in, and as cloudy days come along or whatever might be happening, we can change the level of our dimming according to the requirements. All quite simple processes in the KNX system. We can set scenes according to our mood. So with one touch of one button, we can completely set up a home theatre room, for example, according to the ambient lights that we've preset. DALI is a very popular form of lighting these days, mainly in the commercial sector. There are ways that from KNX we can address DALI and get a complete system operating that way as well. We can have central controls over a complete building. It leads a little bit into smart grid. Everyone's talking about smart grid these days. And what we see for the future is that signals will be provided from the smart grid to the automated home so that the home can make decisions on lowering its energy requirements and taking some stress off the electrical grid. That way we can hopefully avoid future power outages and so on. All of this, it sounds like future technology, but it's all available and quite possible right now. With blind and shutter control, again, extremely popular in Europe, and it is something which is gaining a lot of popularity here in Australia. So we can position our blinds and shutters according to the requirements of our lighting levels for a start. What we might want in summer is to allow the ambient light to come in, but we want to avoid the sun actually coming in and heating up the room, which means we therefore have to cool it. So we can position the angle of our shutters according to these requirements. We can track the sun, know the exact position of the sun, and adjust our shutter position so it takes this into consideration. If the wind gets up and it gets to a point, if you've got external shutters and the shutters will be under threat, we can retract them at certain preset levels so that we avoid damage to these things. For automating our remote access, again, it's quite simple. You can have a one-touch button as you leave your home, and your shutters could be closed to a certain point that you've defined. You could have certain security lighting enacted so that it comes into a cycle that you've also decided upon, and you could basically lock all of your doors as well. So you can, there's quite a variety of things that are able to be done. Using IP addressing, we can talk to our homes from a remote location as well. So we've also, I've seen it personally quite often that we get visitors here from Europe, and they can dial into their home in Germany, for example, and really burrow into their home automation system and either make changes or just see what's happening back at home. With operation and visualisation, there's a variety of things that people like to do. We like our things to look simple to operate, and a lot of people are taken by the technology. So you can go from quite simple switching, which we're quite used to, all the way up to quite elaborate touch screens, which will provide the full interaction with the total home, and you can decide what you want to happen, when it happens. I know some of the touch screens have internet compatibility and so on. It's really a case of, if your imagination thinks of something that you would like to do, chances are there is already a product developed that will do it for you. Panic lighting. Again, that's with a panic button. If you hear a sound that concerns you, and particularly for the elderly people, with the touch of one button, you could go to a security mode and turn every light in the house on to full brilliance. And if there are intruders, the idea will be to scare them away. With smoke alarms, you can detect that there is an alarm and turn on a particular lighting path. So even though your vision is obscured because of potential smoke, the light path, when you're in total darkness like that, having some lights coming on showing you the way is a way of security. So there's a variety of things that we're able to do, and as I say, it's really limited by your imagination. Energy management is one of the very, very topical areas, and I touched on it before talking about the smart grid. But we can utilise components on the KNX system where we can measure the current energy demand. If we're looking for a peak loading that we're trying to avoid, we can automatically make some decisions about load shedding. We can monitor the amount of energy consumed in various parts of the home or the building, and really start logging that, and that can be portrayed on a touch screen or a visualisation of some description, or you just take that information for analysis at a later time. There's so many things that is possible to be done. Even to the point of current detection. You can switch on a load, and if the load is not actually consuming the amount of current that you expect it ought to be, it's a way of detecting that is a faulty unit, and you can create an alarm accordingly. For example, your pool pump. There was some research done at the University of Bremen some years ago now. It was a 4-year study, so they were looking at 2 identical classrooms. One had KNX controlled automation, and the other was utilising standard lighting. So in this situation, over that 4 years, they were able to confirm that they could achieve a 50% energy savings by utilising the KNX system. So this is university research which has shown us that. They also received similar information in regards to the heating effects. Being in Bremen in Germany, cooling wasn't so much their concern, but they have a very high energy consumption relating to their heating. When we're looking about energy efficiency, we're really looking to use energy only when we really need it. So by utilising presence detection, we can detect that someone has entered the room, therefore we want the lights to come on. If we have the ability to control the heating or the cooling, we can do so. We might set shutters and blinds to a certain position, which is associated with the comfort levels that you're looking for. We also only want to use the amount of energy that we actually need, and this is where daylight harvesting can come in. we're utilising the natural light which is outside and limiting the amount of artificial lighting that we might need. We can take that to the next level, as I mentioned earlier, by angling certain blinds to a certain angle, and we can prevent the heat of the sun coming in, but actually allow the light of the sun to come in. So all of this technology is all readily available right now. We can also interface to, for example, solar plant, and make sure that we're optimising the solar energy that we might be harvesting as well. Looking at what the heck is this KNX? iBus is a proprietary name of ABB for our form of KNX. It is a bus system, so when we're doing our wiring, we have our 240 being wired out to various components, and we have a bus which is indicated by the green image there. This is actually an extra low voltage cable which goes out to various switching devices, and being extra low voltage, naturally it's very safe, so it can be used in wet areas, for example, and the safety of that is extremely good because we're actually only operating at 29 volts. So your main supply is switched back at a distribution board which has got various actuators and relays and things according to your requirement, and then you switch on the various loads. We can individually address each load. One of the significant things about KNX is the fact that there is not a master controller controlling the overall system. So each device in the KNX world has its own microprocessor on it, and it is therefore programmed according to its requirements of what it needs to do in this world. So if a light switch on one side of the room is to control an actual light fitting on the other side of the room, those two devices are programmed and they remember exactly what they're supposed to be doing. By not having a master controller, it means that the bus traffic, which is going along this green cable of the KNX cable, is very, very low. In fact, there's no need for polling of devices. For those of you that are familiar with protocols, there is no polling that goes on. It's just once a signal is generated, that is the telegram that's sent on the KNX bus, and it's accepted by the device that's meant to be listening to it. So the whole process is actually extremely simple, and that then makes it extremely reliable. This is why it's become so widespread used across the world. So where can we use KNX? Essentially any building, home building, very popular in airports. An interesting point is the fact that a KNX system, be it in a home or be it in a 500-room hotel, it's the same system. Because each of the devices has its own CPU mounted upon it, it really means that it's entirely expandable up to the level that you're actually looking for. Makes the system extremely powerful. There are various techniques that we used by doing this, but essentially it's the same technology all the way through. So once you know the technology at say, the home level, you literally could go out and use that technology in a major airport, which certainly has been done. And there's quite a number of airports and things on the reference list for KNX, and they are very interested in it, mainly from the point of view of saving energy. So you can see the list there. So all of the building functions that we've spoken about are seamlessly operating on the same protocol, which is sensational really, because it means we have a very, very powerful system right at our fingertips. Just a snapshot of some of the products. As you can see, it goes anything from a sensor to a HMI device. There's various relays and things available there as well, room thermostats and such, up to a full weather station. So the world is at your fingertips. Looking at the savings which are possible, the way you read this is effectively, if we're using, in the first one, individual room control, depending on the level of control we place on it, the estimated savings can vary between 14 and 25%. You can see that lighting has a very high value. It is one of the areas which there's been a lot of focus, a lot of concentration on. But once we incorporate all of these other areas, it means that the power of the system can really be utilised, and we can save so much more energy, which comes down to our cost savings, which means that the investment that a person is making in their home will be paid off so much quicker. As a model, this is a school classroom, so using existing technology, from a heating point of view, you will turn the heating on in the early part of the day and you'll turn it off later in the day if you happen to be doing evening classes. But there'll be certain periods during that day that the room could be unoccupied. So by utilising a system such as KNX, we preset to a certain comfort level and we have a standby level where when the building or the room rather is unoccupied, we can conserve some energy. And we just kick it back in once it needs to be occupied once again. The research has shown that if you have a temperature reduction of approximately 1 degree, that can equate to an energy saving of about 6% of your energy. So you can understand that enormous savings can be made by incorporating our heating and ventilation controls into our home automation system. And again, it just comes back to that payback being much more achievable, which means that the market obviously will be a lot greater. Just a few references which are available. There is KNX in the Sydney Opera House on its HVAC system, the Lowry Cancer Research Centre in New South Wales, various upmarket homes in either Sanctuary Cove or Rose Bay. It is utilised quite a lot in the high-end homes. I think towards the future, we'll see that the cost is certainly coming down and it will become more achievable for the mid-range homes. And people are becoming also more aware, as energy costs are rising, they'll be looking more towards ways that they can overcome these increased energy costs. Internationally, right from cruise ships, the Beijing Olympic Stadium, various hotels and things around the world. It's just quite a group of them there. If anyone's been to London, Heathrow Terminal 5, big glass building, it's full of KNX. There's a number of airports in China and India and right across the world who have adopted it. So it really is one of these systems that can be as small or as large as you would like it to be, and you can still gain benefit from it. Most recently, there was a project in Victoria called the Surf Coast Shire Council Building. It's in Torquay, which is a surfing area in the west coast of Victoria. That particular project was entered into the International KNX Awards and it actually won its category, which was fantastic for Australia. And you can tell by the front of that building, the area, that white area, as a bit of an outcrop, is meant to be an image of a surfboard being on the surf coast. So it was terrific to see this particular project actually have a win, and it really put a focus of Australia and KNX on the global stage. So there's an exhibition which is conducted in Frankfurt in Germany. It's called Light and Building, and it is the major automation exhibition in the world, and KNX has an extremely high presence there. And it was at this particular exhibition where they held the international award ceremony, and a Sydney company called CTI picked up their win for that. as part of the KNX national group, we had about 5 entries into various categories, and they were all placed very, very high, and we had that one win with this project, which was very, very pleasing. Someone's just told me that the sound is dropping out. I apologise for that. We're nearly done anyway. Hopefully it's not too bad. For the future, we're likely to see a plug-and-play compatibility coming in, which will make programming of home automation systems so much easier, and potentially even without the need of software. Smartphone and tablet apps, they're pretty much available now. That will expand, and right now you could even use your iPhone, for example, and communicate with your house and either request certain things to occur, such as lighting, heating turning on, and so on. We would see it as becoming much more accessible and certainly much more affordable. Most home and building automation, when we're talking about the home, it is in that higher end category as a rule. We can see that in the future, the cost of this technology is going to come down as the volumes increase, and as new applications come along, you'll find systems coming onto the market which are just so much more achievable at a much lower cost. And I think for the contracting market out there, it's a really exciting time. It's just around the corner, where we're going to see so many more applications available, and it's going to be accessible for you people to be installing. And obviously we'll be providing full function to all domestic services. As you could see from earlier in the presentation, a protocol such as KNX is covering so much more than what was previously available, because we can look towards the heating and ventilation systems, the security systems, the lighting, blind and shutter control, and so on. Every single application within the home, right down to white good manufacturers having KNX compatible devices. So if in the future we get a message from the grid saying that there's a reasonable amount of power available, it will automatically say, well, the washing machine or the dishwasher can turn on now, because we're not going to threaten the loadings that we're getting as the messages from the smart grid. So these are all things which are just around the corner, so I think it's a very exciting time ahead. Also, radio frequency applications are likely to come along, and that means that for retrofitting into existing installations, the need for rewiring is going to be perhaps reduced. These products are likely to be just around the corner as well. So as you can tell, it's a very, very exciting time for us all, and I'm sure that by your very presence on this webinar, you'll see that there is a lot in the future. And that's really it for the webinar for now. I'd like to thank you all very much for taking part in it. I do apologise for the earlier technology issues that we had, but hopefully it's not too bad. If there are any questions, please type them into the chat box. Some nice comments coming through, so thank you very much. One final thing from the Voltimum people. There is a survey which will pop up in a few moments as the presentation is finished. If you don't mind, if you would like to take a few moments to fill that out, this will improve what Voltimum will be offering in the future, and we'll take your feedback on board, and that will engage that into what we're going to offer in the future and make these things as worthwhile as possible. So I'll just enable it so that the